What does it mean to be a people of curiosity? That is our Soul Matters theme for the month of May. Now the short answer means that it is being bold and daring and sometimes even a little bit outrageous. I think about the first time our son brought home a certain young woman to meet us. You know how this meet the parent thing goes. It can be a pretty angst-filled experience. It's best to be prepared in advance, and I suspect she had been well coached. Why? Because she sat down with Barry and started asking him questions about the accordion. To his delight, she conversed with him for quite a while about one of the things that he is passionate about, something about which she knew nothing. Do I think she was coached in advance? Yes, I do. Do I think she was genuinely curious about the accordion? Maybe not, but she was genuinely curious about the person who loved playing the accordion. It was a good start to what turned out to be a long-term relationship, because that curious young woman is now the mother of our grandchildren. Meeting the parents can be worrisome. But as Reverend Kimberly Beavis writes, we can lean into worry's opposite, curiosity. As Rabbi Marshall Prager teaches, where worry says, oh no, what is going to happen next? Curiosity says, oh wow, I wonder what will happen next. To be a person of curiosity is to lean into the unknown with wonder and anticipation and sometimes joy. To be a people of curiosity is to support each other in our wonderings. Now, it is somewhat easy to think about ways to support curiosity in our children and youth. We are, after all, the people who understand religious education to be a process that involves questioning, exploring, and finding individual paths to individual truths. There is no orthodoxy in Unitarian Universalism. There is no creed. There are no doctrines. There is only the process of seeking truth. And that applies not just to children, but to all ages and all stages. For us, religious education is a lifelong quest. You might think of our congregations as learning laboratories for the perpetually curious. To be curious is to be open to new learning, and perhaps, more importantly sometimes, to unlearning what we thought we knew. When we think we know, like really know what life is all about, that's when we are at greatest risk for missing out on what life is all about. Now, I want you to know that for that little piece of sermonic nonsense, you can blame longtime member Bob Floss. Where are you, Bob? Yeah. Whose droll approach to the question box service a couple of months ago was this. He wrote on the index card, what is the meaning of life? I have always wondered. Well, Bob, the meaning of life is to continually unlearn what you think you have learned about the meaning of life, so that there is room in your mind and heart for new insights into the meaning of life. As one of the great minds of all time once said, I have no special talent, I am just passionately curious. Albert Einstein. So we learn continuously, and we unlearn continuously. We are always open to new insights and new ideas. We are continuously enriched by new and different perspectives, and hopefully we have some fun in that process. Hopefully we find joy in that process. Not always, but sometimes. Remember that Unitarian Universalism is all about process. The 7 principles of our faith, those 7 aspirational statements that guide us in the creation of liberal religious community, include several references to the process of truth-seeking. We covenant, it says, to affirm and promote. And then our 3rd principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And the 4th principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Those 2 principles lie at the heart of that statement of principles and purposes. Therefore, one could argue that curiosity lies at the very heart of who we are as people of faith. Spiritual growth and searching for truth and meaning are core values for us. They are, for us, the heart of the matter. Just a few minutes ago, you watched some of our youth cross a bridge, a mostly metaphorical bridge, representing their transition from youth to young adulthood. Now, Bridgers, I won't pretend to know what was going on in each of your minds at that moment, but I hope that you were and are and always will be filled with curiosity about what life has to offer each of you on the other side of that bridge, and the bridge after that, and the bridge after that. When I was thinking about the bridging ceremony earlier this week, a lovely and somewhat silly memory popped into my mind. I'm not sure why, but I accept these stream of consciousness moments as always relevant to sermon writing, so here's the story. When our cat Clyde was just a wee kitten, we kept him and his sister Bonnie in one room, gated off with a baby gate, until the kittens and the dog could get to know each other. At first, those two kittens spent most of their time hiding inside a bass drum. They gradually ventured out and explored the room, then spent more and more time at the gate, watching and sniffing. And then one day, Clyde said to Bonnie, "I'm going over." And with fierce determination, he hooked his little paws into the openings in the gate and pulled himself slowly and surely to the top, and then tumbled over into a vast new world. Bonnie soon followed. I'll never forget that image of this tiny black kitten so determined to expand his experience, so curious. So what is it then with the saying about curiosity killing the cat? And that song of the same name? It wasn't curiosity itself that killed the proverbial cat, wrote Kate Berardo. What really got him in trouble was his inability to deal with the new situation he was in. And when it comes to learning about new environments, curiosity is the key. Okay, but that hasn't always been our experience, has it? You know, I remember hearing that curiosity killed the cat thing as a warning when I was a child. Ask too many questions and you're in trouble. Keep asking me why and you're in trouble. Stick your nose where it doesn't belong and you're in trouble. Kind of goes along with the children should be seen and not heard thing, doesn't it? It's a method of social control. So it is liberating to realize that curiosity doesn't kill anything. But being uncurious, unable to adapt to new circumstances, unable to learn new ways of being in the world, that's the killer. Curiosity does lead to adventure. And adventure leads to transformation. And as some of you may have heard me say before, we in the New Church are in the transformation business. We are not in the satisfaction business. We are in the transformation business. Personal, spiritual transformation. Transformation of our beloved communities. Transformation of the world around us. Transformation of structures of oppression and marginalization that we previously did not even notice or took for granted because they didn't apply to us. That's a lot of transformation, which means a lot of risk, which means a lot of courage. That's a lot of transformation, which means a lot of enrichment, and a lot of joy, and a lot of adventure. No wonder the Soul Matters packet for May begins with this quote from Reverend Victoria Safford. To see, simply to look and see, is an ethical act and an intentional choice. To see with open eyes is a spiritual practice and thus a risk, for it can open you to ways of knowing the world and loving it that will lead to inevitable consequences. The awakened eye is a conscious eye, a willful eye, and brave, because to see things as they are, each in its own truth, will make you very vulnerable. As I was reading Victoria's quote, I thought of two other very disparate quotes from disparate people. One, maybe some of the rest of you heard this in her quote too. was part of the stump speech in Bobby Kennedy's presidential campaign, when he would say over and over again, some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not? And did you know that he was borrowing very, very, very liberally from George Bernard Shaw? The original Shaw quote goes, you see things and you say why, but I dream things that never were and I say why not. Both are talking about that awakened eye of Victoria's. Once you see things as they are and realize the disparity between what is and what could be, you are on the hook for making changes for the better. Scott Taylor in Soul Matters Lead calls that kind of curiosity not just fun or interesting, but the kind that makes us anew. To be a people of curiosity is to be made anew, or I could say born again. That's actually a darn good description of the life curiously lived, but somebody got to it first. Kind of ruined it. So let's say that we are people always being made anew. Now the other quote that came to mind as I read Victoria's words is, and this is probably no surprise here, actually a line from a Mary Oliver poem. The poem is entitled When Death Comes, but it could really just as easily have been entitled When Life Comes. The particular line that I thought of is this: I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering what it is going to be like. And that, Bob, is the meaning of life. To walk over bridge after bridge, to go through door after door, always full of curiosity. Always wondering what it is going to be like. Always curious in all the ways that it means to be a people of curiosity. To expect joy sometimes, to expect adventure sometimes, to expect to be challenged and changed sometimes, to expect to be enriched always, to expect to be made more whole always. I want to end with a story about the hymn we're about to sing. There is more love somewhere. It's a story about maybe a plea to be curious. It was told by Glenn Thomas Rideout, who is a phenomenal UU musical director from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I read this hymn in a worship service at a General Assembly a couple of years ago. There is more love somewhere. And after the service was over, he was approached by a woman who said, in a very cheerful voice, Dr. Rideout, we love that hymn in our congregation. We changed the words. We think we made it better. Instead of singing there is more love somewhere, we sing there is more love right here. Don't you think that's great? Now, to understand the irony of this story, you have to understand that Dr. Rideout is an African American, and the woman who was speaking to him was white. And he said, no, as a matter of fact, I don't think it's great. Because when you change the words to that hymn, you're changing the story of my people. You're changing the story and silencing our voices. And then, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, wouldn't it be great if you approached a hymn like that with curiosity as to what its origin was, to what the people who wrote that hymn were experiencing when they first sang it and when they gifted it to you? And that's, I think, what Scott Taylor means by a kind of curiosity that makes us anew, that forces us out of our comfort zones and our assumptions and our, oh, I really didn't even think of that way of being, into a different way that's harder, but richer and deeper. The awakened eye is a conscious eye. The awakened mind is a conscious mind, a willful mind, and brave. Because to know things in their real truth makes us very vulnerable. And it does put us on the hook for addressing that disparity between what is and what could be. And so now, people of curiosity, I invite you to sing hymn number 95 the way it was written, and think about the origin of that hymn and how it was gifted to us.